So hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. And for those of you who are just popping in for the first time, welcome. My name is Dr. Jenny from the blog, and this is my YouTube channel. So if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at Dr. Jenny from the blog. So let's get it started with today's topic. I actually woke up and had big energy about this topic. Rarely do I wake up and just like have stuff like this on my mind, but I've been seeing it a lot, and I've been seeing it over the last couple of years, but I think I'm finally ready to talk about cancel culture. Yes, cancel culture. So I knew what cancel culture was, but I hadn't really taken time to learn the definition. So I'm going to share it with y'all. I had to Google it so I can get like the right definition. So basically, cancel culture, and the first thing I see when I Google it is online shaming, because that's essentially what it is. But I'll give you all the definition. So cancel culture refers to the popular practice of withdrawing support for, parentheses, canceling, public figures and companies after they have done or said something considered objectionable or offensive. Cancel culture is generally discussed as being performed on social media in the form of group shaming. So I think the reason why I had so much energy around cancel culture is that, one, it's kind of complex in a sense. So obviously there are people who are doing things in the present tense that are causing for calls for cancellations. So like when people are doing racist things, companies are making hurtful statements or things like that. So there's that immediate cancellation. So in that sense, I can kind of understand that to an extent, but I think my biggest issue, and really the focus of this video, is like cancel culture in the sense of like digging up things from like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. And really I want to connect this to like mental health and just well-being. So these ideas expressed are kind of my own formulations and opinions. None of this. One, I think just on a human reaction standpoint, I think that's kind of strange that people would stalk people's social media to find things many years old, at sometimes even decades old, of things that they said or things that they believed at the time. And I say that because that kind of perpetuates the belief that people are permanent, fixed, and unable to change, evolve, and grow. So if I were to look back at my Facebook, and I know my Facebook from 10 years ago is a hot mess, you know, I would see statements that I made that probably made me cringe today or make me feel disappointed or frustrated with myself. But not many of us think to go back a decade's worth of posts and like scrub our posts. I haven't scrubbed any of my posts. So I ask people to think about like, what is the purpose of bringing up something that somebody thought or felt 5 years ago? And, you know, when you ask yourself that question, it's really important to understand your motivation for that. Are you trying to discredit them in the present? Are you trying to learn more about this person and their journey of growth? And to me, it's almost silly that like we will admonish people for things they said years ago when you yourself, and I'm speaking directly to y'all, probably have things on your social media or have said, done things, or felt or believed things that were potentially problematic and hurtful. So one thing with the cancel culture that I'm not quite understanding is this detachment from our own imperfection. And I think it's really interesting that we demand perfection from companies, that we demand perfection from people. And I won't even touch the company part because I'm not too interested in that in this video, but more so the human aspect. So, you know, when you find something from 3 years ago, people run to social media, drop these receipts, and they're like, see, this person's trash. And then people in present day are like, yeah, they're trash. They're canceled for something they said in 2014 when they were like 20. Very interesting to me. And I think that strips away humanity. It strips away people's potential for growth. I think about in my own work, you know, if a client comes in and they talk about things that they've done that have been hurtful to others, me shaming them is not going to get them to change. Me canceling my clients are not going to get them to feel heard. And it's not going to present any opportunities for me to help them learn new and healthier ways of living. So yeah, in that regard, cancel culture is very strange to me. I do think it could be a symptom of disempowerment. So I feel like people who might feel disempowered in their normal day-to-day lives might utilize cancel culture to feel power. There's something gratifying and satisfying about tearing other people down. As strange as it sounds, that's not like an uncommon thing. So some people might feel better about their own selves because of this ability to join in with others to disempower another person. So I do think that that's a real thing that people need to be mindful of when you're engaging in cancel culture. Like, what is it in me that feels satisfied when I tear down a person for something they posted so many years ago? So groupthink is actually a psychological phenomenon when people kind of band together and have the same thoughts, ideas, principles, and values without allowing for group members to think differently or independently or creatively about a thing. So groupthink is dangerous because it often kind of numbs our ability to use our own logic and reason. It stops us from thinking about alternative solutions or ways to address problems. It leads to irrational or dysfunctional decision making, and it's really based in this desire to have conformity. So I do think that when people are jumping on the cancel culture bandwagon, there's some part of that that's like, I want to be connected to other people. So if this is the way that I need to connect around publicly shaming another person, that I will do so. And that's really unhealthy. Groupthink is not a healthy way to conduct ourselves. And I get it, the cancel culture is kind of tricky as well. Now, I understand that there are people who are repeat offenders and, deal with that and kind of conceptualize that in the way that you want. But I think we often, when we're engaging in cancel culture, we're not trying to understand or hear from the other person. Usually if someone issues an apology or makes a statement, then we're quick to also cut down that apology or statement and define it as disingenuous. And so then not only are we shaming people, then we aren't giving people the space to correct their wrongs or actions. And that's really hard. I encourage you all to think about your own selves. We've all made mistakes. Let's say you've made a mistake and you were called out on it. How would you feel if you made a mistake and there was no wiggle room at all for you to make improvements, no matter what you said or did in order to try to make things better? People doubted you and kind of just wrote you off. Most of us, if not all of us, would be alone and isolated because we've all made mistakes. And we really need to be mindful, and going back to what I said earlier about stripping humanity from people. We are asking people to be perfect. Trust me, I'm a doctor and I know. People are not perfect. We will all make mistakes. And I think how we can approach some of these people is to challenge them to be better, to encourage them to seek different ways of being that don't hurt or harm other people. For example, I've been seeing a lot of stuff about like B. Simone, and homegirl is on a roll. She's had a rough few weeks with things coming up with like her book and just other things. And recently I was made aware of the hurtful comments she made about the LGBTQ community and just some transphobic slurs that she used. Now, I do not condone these things because that's not okay. And I want to give context that these are things that she said 3 years ago. No one asked her, are you still using these terms today? Or what did you learn, since then about the LGBTQ plus community? What did you learn about the harmfulness of these slurs? So instead of leaving opening for people to grow, we demonize and strip away people's humanity. And really, I guess the gist of this video is to be aware of the groupthink behavior. Be aware of your own expectations of perfection from other people, because you could be projecting your own feelings about your imperfections onto other people. And be mindful that people grow and change. We are not permanent and fixed. How I feel this year about certain topics may not be how I felt last year. And it's definitely not representative of how I was thinking even 3-4 years ago. And yeah, I guess I'll just leave it there. I just woke up with big energy about this topic today. But I just want us to be mindful of how cancel culture can be toxic and how your engagement in it can be a toxic behavior that you're exhibiting. So I hope, this stirred up some thoughts or feelings in you. And if it did, and you want to communicate with me or talk about it, you can follow me on Instagram at Dr. Jenny from the Block. You can write in the comments underneath this video. I just appreciate y'all for spending this couple minutes with me, and have a great rest of your day and stay wonderful and be great. Bye.